Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Jenn Bruer, the medical director at Homewood Health Center. Jenn is a renowned burnout trainer, parent coach, and author of a fantastic book, Helping Effortlessly. Her expertise spans burnout prevention, mindfulness, sleep hygiene, and overall wellness. Jenn's dedication to helping individuals and communities thrive is truly inspiring. We are excited to learn from her insights. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear readers and viewers, this is Jenn Bruer. Welcome, Jenn.
Hello, Shuman. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so we will start first of all with the expertise list that we have just said in the introduction. Let us start with the burnout prevention and recovery. According to you, from your expertise and your learning points, and what are some early signs of burnout that people often overlook, or it should be considered as a red flag if for any common person? Please.
There's so many of them, so many symptoms of burnout that we could zero in on. I would say probably the number one and probably the most likely known is a sense of exhaustion, of chronic exhaustion, not just, you know, on a Friday after a long week of work, I feel kind of tired. I'm talking about the chronic exhaustion that you wake up feeling a lack of pep in your step. You wake up thinking, I need some coffee to get through this day. You're reaching for coffee constantly. So that's a symptom, constantly reaching for caffeine. Constantly reaching for sugar is another sign of burnout because carbohydrates tend to lower the stress hormone cortisol. So if you find yourself constantly, especially like every 2 or 3 hours, reaching for something sugary or sweet or carb heavy, that can be a sign of it can be a sign, one sign of burnout. You know, there should be a bunch of them. I would encourage readers to go to Dr. Alan Christensen's Adrenal Reset Quiz. He'd be a great guest for your magazine, actually. It's called Adrenal Reset Quiz from Dr. Alan Christensen. And I highly encourage people, in addition to some professional tools that are available to us, such as the Maslach burnout inventory. That's sort of the industry standard for assessing whether you're burnt out, because burnout technically is a work-related phenomenon, but we know that if we're experiencing burnout at home or at work, that there's overspill for sure, that we're, you know, our lives don't just stop at 5 o'clock when we leave the office. So in addition to the burnout inventory, the Maslach burnout inventory, I like to add the Adrenal Reset Quiz to that to really explore whether you're feeling burnt out. So other symptoms can be things like salt cravings, because the adrenals, the glands in the body responsible for metabolizing stress, they tend to really burn through sodium. So having a lot of cravings for salt frequently, that can be a sign of burnout. Low blood pressure can be a sign. High blood pressure can be a sign. The problem with just giving a list of things that can signal burnout, the problem is that there's other things that can go wrong or become imbalanced in the body that can have similar things. So for example, you know, if you have type 2 diabetes or pre-diabetes brewing in your body, some of the signs of pre-diabetes can also be the signs of burnout. So it's really important to not get stuck on the symptoms and self diagnose. It's really just, I think chances are, if you've had chronic, prolonged stress for a long period of time and you have a sense of overwhelm in your work life, in your home life, that sense of overwhelm, if it just keeps firing day after day, you're probably on some spectrum of burnout. And it's definitely something you want to look into.
Okay, that's quite a, like, covering the whole spectrum of it, from exhaustion to overall chronic prolonged overwhelm situation or stress. And in between we have covered constantly reaching out for coffee, sugar, salt, carbohydrate. Fantastic, two checklists. What are some strategies, like effective strategies, that even if we do not realize the red flag or anything, what we can do in our day-to-day life, like few very common things to prevent burnout? There is one thing called self-care, but what is beyond self-care that we
Yes.
can
So
do?
one of my workshops is called Burnout Prevention Beyond Self-Care, meaning, when we think about self-care, which is and self-care is a wonderful thing, in no way am I saying it's not a great thing.
Yeah.
But if you're in a serious state like I was in 2012, when I woke up one day and found myself I felt like I had been hit by a Mack truck, and I woke up, I felt like I hit like there's a brick wall in front of me every morning just getting up. I had 9 children at the time. I was experiencing a profound state of burnout. My body had been under chronic, prolonged stress for a long period of time, and I had ignored the signs. So I want to say that when you're in that state, that level of burnout, learning to say no and taking time out for a bath of an hour of self-care on a Friday night, let's face it, that's not going to pack the punch you're hoping. Is it gonna help a little bit, lift a little bit? Is it going to give you a relaxed Friday evening? For sure. But there are some real tangible strategies that we can implement immediately that can start to calm the burnout experience. So strategies is totally my jam. I'm glad you've asked, but I want to just preface the conversation about strategies. I want to preface it with, there is no silver bullet. We're always looking for, give me the pill. What's the easy way? How is it this simple? I want to say that in all the strategies, and there's potentially hundreds of self-care, of course, is one strategy. Of all the strategies of self-care, not one of them is going to be a silver bullet. They ought to be stacked up. The strategies ought to be stacked up. And of course, by strategies, we're talking about practices, right? Changing our practices. So if we could just zero in on the very first strategy, it's where I always encourage people to start. It's to look at your sleep. It doesn't matter how much self-care you have, if you're chronically underslept, burning the candles at both ends, you're just asking for a deeper state of burnout, right? So the strategies, there's just, I could talk all day about strategies. How many do you want to know?
No, it's I was really blown away by the term burning the candle from both the sides, because I personally use it a lot with my
You do.
with my students, and mostly I teach international students.
Okay.
And at the college level, so they're pretty much burned out. Like, they're overwhelmed with their studies. They're not familiar with North American study. They are in a completely new environment, and mostly all of them are very, very far away from home. And for many of them, it is for the first time in their life. They have never been outside their family situation. So now they're in a country, the main language is not their mother tongue. The cultural practices they do not know. There are so many things. And for the
So
local
many incoming stimulus.
yes. And even for the local students, the school system, the study and everything, and in the college, it's different. And now they're suddenly facing the whole world in front of them. So yeah, whatever you were saying, that overwhelmed situation, I can completely relate to at least from my one sector of experience as a teacher, I have been seeing that. So now that you're saying, I can relate it. So for the strategies, as it is like a very, very long, and you have all these live experiences with it. So let's start with whatever you are expert on. Let's start with mindfulness. Okay.
Okay,
So
perfect.
how can, according to you, mindfulness and meditation help in managing stress and improving welfare? Let's take piece by piece. So how mindfulness and meditation play a proactive role or not, please.
Okay, so when we talk about strategies,
Hmm.
self-care is one strategy.
Yeah.
Sleep cycle hygiene is another strategy.
Mhm.
Mindfulness is another strategy. It's important for readers or listeners to know that this is your recovery, your
Mhm.
health journey, your daily practices are
Mhm.
your jurisdiction and no one else's. So as a burnout, coach, as an expert, whatever you want to call me, it's not my job to say, this is how you do it. This is your playbook. That's your job. So my job is to say, here's all the possibilities, pick and choose what works for you. And I would say for international students, mindfulness is a really great possible strategy because the central nervous system is in a heightened state of alert because of that constant overwhelm, because of the culture shock, because of stress, because of burning the candles at both ends, because of isolation, because of all of the things you just mentioned. So mindfulness is one strategy. But having said that, if mindfulness itself kind of goes over your head, you're like, no, thank you, it's not for me. I always hear from people, I'm not good at mindfulness because I'm not good at it. I can't stop my mind from thinking. We're going on that loop where, these perseverating thoughts. If you have a mind, mindfulness is for you. And there are different types of mindfulness practice. We typically think of meditation. That's a closed-eyed mindfulness practice. Meditation is always mindfulness, but mindfulness doesn't always have to be meditation. So if you're one of those people who says, oh, meditation, it's not for me, there are other possible mindful techniques that might be for you, and I urge you to explore it. I really like to encourage people to start, just go on YouTube, find your favorite guided meditation or guided mindful practice. If you want to do it with your eyes closed, you can. There's lots of mindful. I do have on my website somewhere, I think it should be under the resources section, there's a downloadable PDF of it's a mindfulness exercises, and many of them are open-eyed. So it's not your typical, because we think of a guru doing like a yogic guru doing mindfulness or meditation, and that sometimes for people overwhelms them and they feel a sense of like a lack of, they don't feel it's relatable for them. So I urge you to know that there's other types of mindfulness practice. So a mindfulness, the way that I like to frame it is, a healing should be body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah.
When I think about the body, I think about movement and exercise, which we all know is good for us. I think of diet and nourishing our body. And then, of course, there's the mind. Well, what does that have to do with burnout? Well, our thoughts can create our reality in some sense. It's certainly our emotional reality. So by taking up a consistent mindfulness practice, it allows us more control over the stream of consciousness. We will always have a stream of thought. The stream of thought is based purely in habit and history. So with practice, we change the history and the practice of our thoughts. So for example, a gratitude practice is a mindfulness practice. Just taking out a journal for 4 minutes every day and saying all the things for which you are grateful, that's a mindfulness practice. And that's an open-eyed, non-meditative, mindful practice that is rewiring your thought pattern over time. It's not going to happen right away. And what's amazing is if I were to say to you when you feel like, for just use this as a visual for yourself. Let's say you've knocked into a doorway and your eye is hurting. Okay, you've bumped your eye.
Yeah.
If I step really hard on your foot, all of a sudden you forget about your eye, right?
Yeah.
So if I were to say to you, close your eyes and I want you to think about your feet. So a body scan meditation. All of a sudden your problems are gone because you're thinking about something else. So it's
My
like you're
focus shifted.
diverting
Yeah.
your focus. Exactly. So mindfulness practice, I really believe in that. I really encourage people to do mindfulness. If mindfulness doesn't feel available to you because, for example, these students might be overwhelmed and now I'm asking them to start a new practice, it could worsen your overwhelm. I would say even before a mindfulness practice, especially for the international students, I would encourage breathing techniques. These are evidence-based techniques to calm the central nervous system, to take us out of that fight and flight mode. And it really packs a punch. There's lots and lots of them, guided breathing techniques that you can do on your own. What I love about breathing techniques is you can do them anywhere. And what the research is saying is that if we extend the exhale for whatever, there's tons of breathing techniques out there, but if you extend the exhale to be longer than the inhale, that tends to be something that really signals the central nervous system to be in a calm state.
Yeah. Very recently, someone was sharing a video with me. It is a TEDx video, and the guy on the speaking platform, he was speaking about researchers have found a connection between good breathing technique and weight loss.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it?
Amazing. And I didn't realize in that way. And as you were saying about journaling, trust me, whenever you started about distinguishing between meditation and meditation is closed eye, and mindfulness can be done with open eyes, literally, I was thinking about journaling.
Yes.
Yes, because I do it myself, not only in a gratitude journaling mode, but also at night, specifically on weeknights. I try to do a reflection journalism.
I like that.
Because in my understanding, whatever I have by the way, I practice meditation for more than 20 years.
Wonderful. Good for you.
So it's an Eastern method. So and it is the total span is 25 to 30 minutes. So I do it 2 times a day. And
what method is it? Is it a specific?
We call it quantum method.
Quantum method. Nice. Wonderful.
Okay. So, and overall, the understanding in my journaling thing is that, okay, gratitude, it's absolutely fantastic. But the time that we pass, if we cannot turn our experience into learning, growth is far-fetched. If we cannot convert our experience into learning, our growth becomes delayed.
Yes.
Because
we repeat the same cycle. We repeat the same cycle just over and over and over again. Yes.
That is the best way to put it. So,
what is it? What we resist persists.
Yes.
Right. So you have to take this. You might resist the lesson in front of you, but it'll just keep coming.
Yeah. So I do the scheduling for week in Google Calendar. And whenever I schedule it over, whenever it is Friday night or Saturday night, specifically, I do it on Sunday because that is kind of a free day for me. So in Sunday, usually at noon time after lunch, that's the time that is mostly calm and quiet in my house. So I go with that and I turn whatever I have learned, and mostly the mistakes, because my mistakes are my best teachers. So that's how,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
that's how I like always turn. Everybody experiences life, but not everybody turns their experience into a stepping stone for further growth. As you have said, that one day morning I saw there is a brick wall in front of me. I'm extremely burned out. That was your experience, but you turned that into your stepping stone to go beyond that wall, to break the wall, and to make a way through. So that I think mindfulness meditation and both help us doing that, try to see our experience in a different way so that we can go beyond, in my understanding of.
Because the thing is, the experience of being burnt out,
Mm.
it really erodes at your basic self-esteem,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
true,
And I
true.
apologize, I'm getting some notifications here.
No, no, it's okay, please.
It erodes, being burnt out, it erodes your self-esteem, and it really begs you,
Big time, big time.
it begs you to go on to, in your mind, go beyond the transactional,
Yeah,
being that transactional person,
yeah,
right, into being and embracing that innate sense of belonging that you already have,
yeah.
your birthright. And
So
that's, for me, what mindfulness has given me, right, is that when I
true.
was burnt out, it really impacts your self-esteem, I'll tell you, because you've been told, you've been programmed to
Yeah,
think that productivity is your worth. How much you can give to others is your worth. How much you can give to the community is your worth. And
yeah,
that's simply not true.
yeah.
And I find, for me, especially, a close-eyed meditation brings me to that truth so quickly because
Mm.
I'm practiced. So don't expect that to be your outcome if you haven't practiced, right? But if you
Yeah,
if you if you can practice at it, it gives you that deep sense of awareness of who you are and where you're
mm.
going and where you've been, versus this go productivity, like a little hamster on the wheel,
Mm.
going around the proverbial wheel and
Mm.
getting nowhere. Yeah,
Mm.
mindfulness is where it's at, for
Yeah,
sure.
well, my teacher used to say that busyness is not productivity.
Yes.
And very recently, I do not know if you haven't quoted it, there is another fantastic book called Slow Productivity by Cal Newport.
No, I don't know it.
Slow Productivity by Cal Newport. He's one of my best go-to self-development after Stephen Covey and Jim Rohn. So
Oh,
re-
yes.
I read him a lot. And
Okay, good.
even Stephen Covey also said there is production and there is production capability.
Yes.
So we always so focused on production, but not production capability. Who we
Mhm.
are. We are producing. So we are very focused on the golden egg, but not the goose.
Mhm.
We kill the
Mhm.
goose. So
Mhm.
sometimes we don't do that. After mindfulness, let's shift this conversation to sleep cycle because that was
Sure.
another big proponent of the strategies to fight burnout. And you know what, Jen, we are having this conversation. I just realized it's in a very, very appropriate time. The situations that we are facing around us, I think the level of restlessness is increasing in some way, in
Mhm.
so many ways. And this conversation about burnout, it's more appropriate for now. I think it is more than important of any other time in my lifetime, as in my experience.
I am with you. Agreed. I've the amount of organizations reaching out saying, I don't know what to
Yes,
do.
yes.
Is it systemic? Do we approach it from the organizational
Yeah.
leadership level? Is this on the individual level? What do we do? We're all burnt out. And I always get the question, well, why do you think we're all burnt out? Well,
Yeah.
is it the government? Is it the financial situation? Is it the isolation and coming from COVID? If it's social media, it's all of it.
It's
Right?
all of it. Yeah.
It's all of it. It's all of
It's
it.
all of it. It's a complete
The
package.
answer
Yeah.
is yes. The
That's
answer
the
is
easy
yes.
answer. So good to hear that organizations are realizing that.
They really are.
Yeah. Yeah. So why, back to sleep cycle again, why
Yes.
you think sleep hygiene is crucial for health in a very brief way? And what are some of the tips for maintaining, let's say, the word, if it is appropriate, a healthy sleep cycle? I know
Okay.
it is individualized. I know it is completely personalized, but common. Yeah, please.
Okay, so common. So we all need very similar things when it comes to sleep.
Ah, okay.
Okay,
Good to know.
there is a sort of a recipe. Of course, there's some individualized actions that will need to be taken place, but in general, we all need some wind down time before bed, and we would call that sleep hygiene, right? Matt Walker he's the famous sleep scientist. I encourage you to check out his TED Talk and do some reading with him. We can't do shortcuts. There's some areas in our lives where we're pretty innovative and we have technology that can give us shortcuts, and we can take a pill to do this, or we can whatever. When it comes to sleep, we don't really have any good shortcuts. Okay, it requires us to have a good sleep hygiene. So meaning winding down at night, not doing things that are too strenuous. Some people are hitting the gym at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., doing hardcore cardiovascular activity. Cardiovascular activity, especially for someone who is experiencing or even has experienced burnout, be really careful about cardiovascular activity at night. This is not for all people. If you are exercising at night and doing cardio and you find that you're tracking your sleep and your sleep architecture is really good and you're not tired and you're not experiencing burnout, keep doing what you're doing. But if you are experiencing burnout and you're doing some heavy cardiovascular activity at night, you want to look at that and think about maybe shifting your cardiovascular activity to a morning activity.
Yeah.
So having a good sleep hygiene also includes being aware of how light impacts your hormones and the circadian rhythm around them. So for example, at night, if you're sitting and you're in front of the laptop or in front of the TV, or you're looking, even you're in your bathroom brushing your teeth and you have the light on, you might find that those lights can stimulate the suppression of your melatonin, your sleep hormone, or it can cause a cortisol release in some people. So be aware of how much light you're exposed to. You can get something from Amazon called blue blocking nighttime glasses. My favorite brand, they're really hideous. They're welding glasses. They're contractor welding glasses, and they're very hideous. But they do work for blocking 99.9% of the blue spectrum lighting. That's the spectrum of lighting that is being released from your devices that is impacting in your retina. You have these signals that detect light. So consider wearing blue blocking sunglasses at night. 2 hours before bed is optimal, but even 15 minutes can help to signal the body to rest. And then I don't know, your camera's going in and out on you. I'm not sure if you were wanting that.
No, it's from my end, it is on. Is it camera is going in and out?
The camera kept going, zooming in on you and then zooming out on you.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. It is the software that is doing it.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Okay,
No
yeah.
problem.
It adjusted with my face angle. Yeah, please.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
So just, being aware and mindful of light exposure to the retina and the skin and how that will impact it's called light therapy, and it's very simple. You block the bright lights at night and you encourage bright lights in the morning. So you go right to the window and glance outside and look at the horizon in the morning to expose your retina, your eyes, to the bright light. If you do those two things, that's not going to necessarily cure a lifelong insomnia, but it will definitely start to reset the circadian rhythm, which we all need support. And of course, there's lots of other strategies there with sleep, but we will leave it at that.
Wow, fantastic, fantastic. And is also, if anyone is taking any glasses for the eyeglasses, and if it is Polaroid glasses, like reflecting blue light, that thing can be built in as well? Is there any mechanism for that? I'm not sure about
I think what you might be referring to is that sometimes people who work at the computer all day
yeah.
will get some blue 25. So sometimes they'll get a slight blue blocker, like when you go to your prescription
Yeah.
glasses for your computer glasses for work.
Mm.
Sometimes they'll offer blue blockers in that prescription to reduce eye strain.
Yes.
It's important to know that what I'm referring to is different because the blue blockers called UVEX from Amazon. I think they're $20, $25 or something like that.
Okay.
Those will help to block the blue spectrum lighting coming from overhead lights, from devices, from televisions, etc.
Okay.
And that will help to stimulate and reset the circadian rhythm. I wear them every night. I know I'm really cool. So I wear these glasses every night. They are different because the UVEX, the ones I'm referring to for nighttime wear only, they're blocking 99% of the blue spectrum lighting.
Oh,
the
wow.
ones you're referring to for computer usage, they're anywhere from 5 to 25% to reduce eye strain. Because being exposed to blue spectrum lighting all day long in your eyes can strain the eyes. And it's sort of two different conversations there.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to distinguish, because so many will confuse the two, because we are not expecting this. So that is why we wanted to that, because most of the time, how many times I have gone to the glass stores and everything to make my eyeglasses and everything, they used to say, do you want that feature inside your Polaroid glass and everything? I said, yes, you can, but is that the same thing? No, that's not the same thing. It's completely two different.
And you definitely want to remember, we're not always avoiding bright lights, only an hour to 2 hours before bed. In the morning, we want to expose ourselves to as much bright light as possible because we want to increase the stress hormone and decrease and tell the body no more melatonin for sleep, right?
So that was also a big conversation part of morning routine suggested by Andrew Huberman, I guess.
Yes. Andrew Huberman is someone to really follow. He has such great snippets of, like I said, health is about stacking the habits.
Yeah, right? You told it at the beginning of the conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
So he has suggested a morning routine and everything. I took some of it, not everything, but that was one thing that usually within 15 minutes of the getting up, open the curtain, look at the bright sunlight, have your first glass of water, and have just a small brisk walk and everything. So that immediately boosts up the whole awakened state inside you and everything. So
as I call it, your pep in your step.
Oh yeah.
You want to wake up with a pep in your step, not hit by a black truck. I need some coffee to get through this day. Yeah,
fantastic. And now let's shift our focus to kind of. So, what are some practical health and wellness tips that you can say to our readers? Because I have to be conscious about our time as well. So, what are some practical health and wellness tips that our readers can use to achieve what I call, I do not know if it is a right term to use it. It's called a balanced lifestyle.
A balanced lifestyle. So it's hard to know where any one person should start, but chances are, the areas in your life that have become imbalanced. If you're someone who's sitting on the couch all day long, get up and move. And it doesn't have to be a formal gym. Don't go and get a gym membership. See, this is one of the mistakes we make when we talk about health and wellness, is that we I'm just noticing the chat box. Sorry, it just distracted me. So I apologize. So I totally lost my train of thought now.
Health and wellness tips you are talking about the readers.
So the health and wellness, where you're experiencing imbalance. Where you're experiencing imbalance. So don't make the mistake. I'm a type A perfectionist. When I do things, I like to go all in. And that's, of course, one of the traits that causes me to be exposed to burnout. So I say, just do a little bit better. So if you're sitting on the couch all day, or you're sitting for your job all day, consider setting a timer and do a walk just around the house. It doesn't have to be out at the park or anything like that. It can just be go to the washroom, grab a tea, make an effort to do more than what you're doing. Right? So in terms of movement, it's that. In terms of diet, it's reduce your sugar.
Okay.
Prioritize your protein intake, whatever that looks like for you. Eat the fruits and vegetables that work for your body, that you feel are healthy. Zero in on an elimination style diet if you're suffering with IBS or anything like that. What works for you is not what works for me or someone else. So
Yeah.
as much as you might hear all these incoming, like Huberman is great, but you'll hear so many people saying this is the diet that everyone should be doing. No, consider what's good for you. Reduce your sugar, because you know that's a good thing, right? Eat more whole foods, eat
Yeah.
less packaged foods, and do what sort of fits in with you. So in all areas of your life,
Yeah.
tiny steps, not huge dramatic steps, because you can't keep those up, and they'll exhaust you even more than you're already feeling, right?
Yeah. No, the tagline that I was thinking is evolution is better than revolution.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Evolution is
when we
better
go
than,
all in, it's too
yeah,
I
it's too
like
much to
that.
handle sometimes. And if you go slow and best of luck, if steady, it will bring in great result in future. Like, and we can see that future results, maybe in a very short period of time, but slow but consistent.
Slow but consistent, it's such key.
Yeah, such key. So, and then you become effortless in doing things. So in that note, we will go in with your, like, what was your inspiration of writing your book, Helping Effortlessly? Like how, like you're trying to convey a message. So what inspired you to do that to the readers?
I'll tell you exactly what inspired me. It was pretty simple. I woke up one day, as I said, in 2012. I had 9 children. I hit the wall of burnout. If I showed you pictures of myself, you wouldn't even recognize me. I was young. I had so much energy inside, but my physical energy, it's a limited resource. And I didn't know that. I'm limitless. You're limitless, but our bodies are limitless, or our limit, have limits, right? We sometimes forget that piece, that the physical energy is a limited resource. And emotional energy is a limited resource. We have limits. So in 2012, I started making tiny little changes, and I was relentless about it. Tiny changes. I didn't want to be burnt out. I wanted to be in the service of my family and in the service of the community. I wanted to continue being present and available. And I knew I needed to do things differently. So I changed all areas of my life. I didn't realize I was doing it, but I just started to make small changes, and they packed some pretty big punches. I started changing my diet. I gave up all grains and all sugar and all processed foods, and I ate whole foods, and I immediately dropped 50 pounds and felt so much more energized, obviously, because I wasn't relying on sugar in the way that I was previously. And then I started engaging in a mindfulness practice, and then I started challenging the thoughts that were holding me back, because because that's what a mindfulness practice gives you, the option. Otherwise, you feel kind of at the mercy of your thought stream.
Yeah.
So I then woke up in 2016, I think it was 2016, 2017, when I started realizing, hold on, I've had this amazing transformation. People would say, I don't even recognize you. You look like you've lost 10 years. What did you do? And people were interested in what I did, but I was interested in helping people, professional helpers like myself, see that they can continue to help,
Yeah.
but do things differently, look at the world differently, feed their bodies differently, be balanced and help from a balanced place, which is a really, it's such a wonderful feel-good story for me. So then I thought, oh, I should do some training seminars. And then I realized this isn't a training, this is I have a playbook. I have a playbook, a self-help, a guide to help someone who's in the depths of burnout, how to get out. And it's step by step. And certainly I've written it in the steps that I did it. But if I were to say to you, like, I would almost say, read the book backwards, follow the book backwards, because I changed diet first. And I would never suggest that someone do that, just based on the fact that diet takes the most energy to change, because you're doing it every day, right? Like, you're eating 3 times a day, whatever. So I would say start with mindfulness, start with sleep, then you'll get more energy, then you can start looking at your diet. So I wrote this book, and I've been doing the training seminars ever since. And what's funny is I thought that it would be within the sort of the mental health nonprofit sector. And I do lots of work in that sector, but for the most part, it's been corporate. Yeah, corporate has been interested in burnout, because I think they recognize it's fiscally responsible. It's fiscally responsible, because if we can reduce absenteeism, if we can reduce burnout for our employees, then it serves us, right? I think that's why the organizations have really taken heed.
Yeah. I'm basically trained in HR. So in HR, we call it training, and it's ROI, return on investment. So whenever you are helping an employee, a group of employees, a team, a division out of burnout, trust me, the long-term fiscal benefit is huge.
The ROI is huge.
ROI is really, really huge.
It really is.
So,
on the individual and on the organization.
well, both in total.
Yes,
yes. It's a very far, not very far sometimes, but it is covering everything. The individual level, the team level, the organization level, everything.
Yes.
And whenever you are approaching, like you're coming from self-development, the term I sometimes don't use, I use self-optimization. So you are optimizing yourself, then you have optimized, enhanced the quality of your life, and you have wrote a book. And primarily you thought that you'll be working for the development of people in a non-government sector or in a very community level. And then you are training corporate people for burnout and everything. What are the impacts sometimes you see in corporate and in community level? Is there any difference? Because you're teaching the same thing, but do you approach things in a different way, or you are approaching them in the same way, but the impact, as it is 2 different sectors, the impact is different? Yeah.
I think that the strategies are the same, but the language might differ.
Yeah.
Right. So with people in the sector of the helping field, you have vicarious trauma, you have there's so much heaviness. So the focus really within the nonprofit sector should really be really challenging your worldview. One of the painful things for professional helpers is wondering if they're making an impact. So I talk a lot about impact, in addition to all of the, sleep hygiene and health and wellness and food and what you put in your mouth and how do you know if you're burnt out, and all of those things are wonderful. But how do you face the internal disappointment, discomfort, conflict that you have when you wonder, am I even making a difference? So I really speak to that with the professional helpers. And of course, the answer is yes. Yes, you are making a difference. And I urge that, like, I go through a whole teaching about how to move away from the need to make an impact with a rooted sense of self-love and self-acceptance, and deeply just assume that you're helping and that you're making an impact rather than needing to see it. Right? So, because you really don't know, in my book, I talk about this, it's a Carolyn Mace quote called "You Don't Know What a Big Act Is. It's Not for You to Know." And she talks about a man driving by a woman. He's about to end his own life. He's feeling really down and out, and the woman smiles at him, and it changes the whole trajectory of his entire life. He decides, I'm not gonna take my own life today, because this woman's smile was so filled with grace. Wow. She had no idea. Wow. She saved a life that day, and she has no idea that she saved a life. Yeah. And so for me, I was a foster parent with some of the hardest to serve youth. I worked with the Children's Aid Society of Toronto for 18 years. I wanted and needed to see my own impact. And I've since, I just am, my identity is so deeply ingrained into being a helper. But I realize now that I don't need to see my impact, because it's not for me to know. I proceed in every day assuming that I'm making an impact, that maybe our conversation, has a profound impact that I don't know. I just assume it's there. And I think that helps me to proceed and to have a level of, love and gratitude and rootedness to my work. And that it helps me show up every day, and it certainly has helped my burnout experience. Yeah. Because there's a depression for helpers in that, right? There's a depression in when you start your adult life going in thinking, I'm going to help people, and then you go into a system that you kind of wonder, is this really helping? What is happening? There's a real internal conflict that I speak to the nonprofit sector there. Yeah. Such a deep thought. And truly that the incident or the story or the happening scenario that you have presented, one smile changed the course of a life, and the person who offered the smile, she doesn't even know about it. You are not supposed to know the big act. It is for the nature to take care. It's not for you to know. Yeah. It really isn't. There's an arrogance in needing to know. Yeah. In not just assuming your own greatness. Yeah. You must live in it. You must know that there's purpose to this. Yeah. There's depths to this. Yeah, there's a great spiritual book in Eastern tradition. It is called Gita, Bhagavad Gita. And it says that you have control only over to your work and not to the consequence of it. So you do the work to the fullest with the deepest of meditation and deepest of good intention. Let the nature take care of the rest. Absolutely. Because if you are doing it with the best intention and in the best way, it will benefit the people it needs to be benefited. You just offered the work to the world. The world will take care of it. The world is a great accountant. And you're right. The world is a great accountant. It's this inherent, unconditional sense of value that mindfulness gives, that challenging some of the thought processes, like I need to make an impact, right? I need to make an impact. I need to see it. There is this inherent, unconditional sense of value and belonging that you can tap into. But instead, you've been wired to tap into it as my accomplishments, my productivity, my how much I'm making, what kind of car I'm driving. Those things are not the way to get in tune with that unconditional
And it also
in
keeps you
here.
humble. It also keeps you humble.
Absolutely.
It's also creates a serving mentality in you. It doesn't, then the success does not go to your head.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
so
right.
it keeps you humble. And whoever the successful people I have met in my life, if I can say one common trait, it's humble. They're humble. They're humble people. They say that, oh, I do a very minuscule of things. I do it very gently, and I do not know the impact, but what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to do good. I'm trying to make a tiny bit of change. And they're the most successful people in the world. Like they're the most
Yes.
successful people in my ambience, in my environment. So yeah. And with that note, to our last and query for today, I hope that we are having this conversation on another of the topic in the upcoming times if you want, because it was such a deep conversation, one of the deepest conversation we have in our podcast, in our interview. What are some, except for that, the beautiful thought you have just presented in a very intricate way, um, what are some other life lessons you think that throughout, because you wear so many hats, you are a burnout expert, you are a wellness expert, you are a foster parent, you coach corporate, you coach non-government. What are some of the life lessons that simply will be beneficial to our readers? If you can offer some, please.
I think I could sum up all of it, and all of the strategies, all of the things we were talking about, the mindfulness, the sleep cycle hygiene, the ditching of sugar. If I could really sum it up, I would just say your health, your overall health, and your balance, it's made up of the sum total. Your health is made up of the sum total of all of your routines and daily habits. Okay, so what you eat, how you speak, what you think, how you move, these are all of the things that you do daily. And the true balance that you're seeking, it's more about creating those little routines as opposed to, like I said, have the grand gestures. It's not just the grand gestures, it's the small daily routines that you engage in with intention that support your mind, body, and spirit, so that balance becomes your natural state, not constant effort. Constant effort used to be my natural state. Constant effort. Hence the brick wall. It's just like the effort, right? And now balance is my state, because I intentionally say, okay, what do I need? How do I take care of myself? In what area am I imbalanced? Is it in my social life? Is it in my how I'm fueling my body? Have I moved today? Have I seen the sun today? Am I practicing self-care? It's tiny things that you've stacked up with intention to create balance in all areas.
Simply fascinating.
Is that a summary?
No, that's a complete summary. That also resonates the title of your book. That also resonates your overall LinkedIn profile page, everything.
Thank you.
What you do, because such a powerful thought, such an empowering thought, that you make your daily routines and daily habits in such a way that balanced state becomes your natural state.
Yes.
Such a powerful thought, such a powerful thought. With that powerful thought, I cannot express our gratitude again for having this conversation with us. I think our readers and listeners will be benefited from this conversation a lot. Thank you very much on behalf of all of us. Thank you very much on behalf of all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shriman. Thank you.